Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Training Unleashed. This is going to be a really special edition, and I'm really looking forward to it. Before we begin, though, on behalf of the Learning Network, I want to thank you for being here. And I also want to thank my sponsors, C-Suite TV and C-Suite Radio. Don't forget to check us out. I have Anita Winkles. She is with WealthRise Network, and she's the founder, and she runs a professional training company that happens to be around wealth and real estate. We're really going to get to that a little bit, but we're going to probably spend more time talking about how she created her company, which is a true training company. And Anita, I know that you started with the why when you started your training. And so I'm asking you probably kind of a pretty big question here. So if you could just talk a little bit about the kind of training you do and how you got started with the why to start creating all the training you're creating.
Absolutely. Well, we started out with the why being that the training space for real estate investor training has been basically done the same way for 30 years that I'm aware of, that I could research and find. And whenever it came down to it, I don't like the way that the sell is done, if you will, because people pay for this type of training. And I don't like the way it's being sold. And in the way it's being sold is it gets people into large environments. It's rah, 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 it gives them fear of missing out. And they end up spending tens of thousands of dollars on training and mentoring. And with today's technology, it's not necessary. It's not necessary for people to go and spend their life savings or take out debt to acquire the knowledge that is out there whenever they could be doing it from the comfort of their homes, and they could be doing it with guided, actual real people guiding them that has done this before.
So your big idea starting this company was we can use technology in a different way to be effective and at the same time much more cost effective. That basically,
Absolutely.
okay. So you had the idea. How did you go about determining what content you needed? How did you go about creating it? How did you pick your platform?
Well, fortunately, we have been teaching this material for years in a lot of environment to being able to do a B2B format for some of the largest real estate investment training companies in the United States. So with that being said, the content we already had, and the content came from basically our personal experiences and all of the property deals that we had done over the years. And with the experiences that we had, we also had ventured into doing on-demand training for some of the B2B clients that we were providing these resources for. With that, we looked at different platforms, and one of the platforms that we decided to use is one that is very commonly used nowadays. There's Kajabi, there's Go High Level, there's all these different platforms out there. And we decided to go with the Go High Level platform because of its flexibility in being able to host.
What was the name of it?
Go High Level.
Go High Level. Never heard of it.
Mm-hmm. Go High Level platform allows us to be able to host the training videos. We can conduct all of our everything from marketing to group settings inside of that platform. So it was very effective. And then we can also follow up with the on-demand training with offering periodic live classes because people learn differently.
Yep.
Some
So
people,
blended learning.
exactly. So we do take that blended learning approach. We want them to go through the training in the on-demand format first, and that way they have a good grasp of what they're learning. And for some learning types, that's all they need. For other learning types, they want to be able to have the one-on-one interaction. So multiple times a year, we follow that up with a live Zoom class where people get the same material. They can get it from a different perspective. They can interact with their peers, and it helps with the retention with them being able to interact with their peers and ask questions and get Q&A live right there on the spot.
So with this platform, did you create all your courses? So I guess I should say this, and why don't we do this, Anita? you have a big time training background. So it's not like you decided you wanted to do training for the first time, so you started this company. Why don't you quickly share with the audience your background, because I think it would be relevant.
Sure. So back in 2002, I started a company that focused on OSHA, MSHA, just the soft skills training for the corporate world. Some of our biggest clients were airlines, hospitals, manufacturing facilities, and we were very successful in that. Um, we carried that company on for probably about 5 years until we had a little partner disillusion. You probably have heard these things, right? Had a little partnership
Never
disillusion that
happened
happened.
before.
Yeah, but we started that company. I say I spearheaded it, started the company from scratch. And one of the things that we did is we went into these different businesses and we learned where their pain points were and then we analyzed where the breakdown was at. And then we would take our training and kind of customize it around that. So fast forward after that, of course, having been the trainer and the trainee in many situations, I've gone through many levels of corporate training throughout my corporate career and ended up getting into real estate investing, was very successful at it. From that point, my husband and we were actually inducted into International Investor Hall of Fame, and we got invited to come back and start helping with teaching workshops in that space. So I kind of picked up those old tools from all those years ago.
So you're very familiar with traditional learning, ISDN, adult learning techniques and things of that nature. How is the training different from a corporate world where people are taking the training because they're being paid to take it, basically, to this world where people are paying you to take the training? Is the training fundamentally the same principles hold, or is there a little difference or nuance based on the fact that a person is literally paying to take the course?
The answer would be yes and no.
Okay, well, let's get into it.
It's the same from the aspect of you still have to maintain the engagement.
Yeah.
Of your trainees. You have to maintain the engagement. And that means whether it's live in person or you're doing it live online, that actually entails reading your audience, making sure that you're keeping them engaged, touching all the different learning, the learning styles that appeals to everybody in that audience. Whenever I said the no, when you're training for a corporation, basically they're trying to meet a requirement. If it's a regulatory training, they're trying to check the box and make sure everyone's doing things safely and effectively. Maybe it's to maximize production. But in the space where someone's paying you for the training, specifically in the real estate investment world, and I would say probably any other type of training where people want to go out and kind of do the entrepreneur thing, it's different. And it's different in the sense as if you're doing an intro training with the hopes of selling them on, if they're interested, selling them on the advanced training so they can get the tools they need to go out and be successful in that space. Training to sell is much different than training just to be able to do the.
So tell us more about it, because I believe, the show's name's Training Unleashed, and the premise is that people don't value training, but if you invest in training, you unleash the power of training throughout the organization. I believe there needs to be more selling in the corporate world, even though we know people are required, that the why and why this is important to you and getting people to feel good about investing their time makes a huge difference. So I guess my question is, how is the selling different? And maybe in retrospect, would you apply some of that to the corporate world, knowing what you now know?
Absolutely, Evan. In the corporate world, you are selling the training because you're selling them on retaining the information that's going to better the organization as a whole. Just like with if somebody's paying you to do the training, they have a why behind why they want to do that training. They're usually trying to accomplish something. You have to sell them on that as well. The reason behind the why is a little bit different. However, in the corporate world, I believe that whenever it comes to selling them, you're selling them on the reason why this training is important, right? So
Yep.
whenever you're selling them on the reason why the training is important, sometimes you're going to have employees that do not grasp the importance. They're just in their heads. They're like, this is just another training. I need to be, working on this other project. There's things I need to be doing that is more important. So I think it is up to the trainer. It is up to the trainer to communicate the importance of these aspects of why the training is important and why it's necessary. And I think that communication on the training and why it's important is usually where the breakdown occurs whenever you have employees that's in your training that's completely disengaged because they're thinking about all the other things that they could be doing. So
Yes.
it's like, as trainers, how do we engage those people? And again, it goes back to communication and how you communicate it. So for instance, if the training is something that's going to be regulatory, let's just say it's an OSHA training, maybe using examples of, hey guys, I know it's time for our annual training for this specific topic. Maybe it is confined spaces. Want to make sure that everybody understands the importance of this and why we have to do it. And sometimes it's just straight out. We're not trying to check a box. Your life matters to us. If there's been any instances at that company, maybe using prior instances that we don't want this to happen, we want to make sure everybody stays safe. We want to make sure that you go home to your family at the end of the day. So whenever you're talking about those regulatory trains and things that become a safety issue, whether it's the safety of the employee or maybe it's in a hospital setting where the employees are providing care to an individual, being able to elaborate on, hey, we want you to have the best day possible. We don't want you to lose anybody that, that we can save. Depends on the setting. However, you got to go back to grabbing their attention and just really relaying the importance of why we are here. We're not here just to check a box off. We're here in order to keep you safe or help you keep somebody else safe. Now, in other aspects, it might be that you're trying to improve production. So if you're trying to improve production, if you can, as a trainer, elaborate on, hey, we're going to do this training, XYZ training, and the reason why we're going to do that is because we want to see the metrics look better in a certain area. But the reason behind this is that we want to be able to create more time margin for you to work on the things that's maybe more important in your job role. So there's got to be a reward. You got to communicate a reward into the reason for the training. And sometimes you have to grab some attention. Maybe if it's something that's more based off of metrics, maybe it's like, hey, you know what? We had an okay year last year. We want to get those metrics up because we want to help you guys by going through this training and helping elevate your performance or your department's performance. We want to give you and the people under you the best option possible to be able to maximize your performance bonuses.
Hey, let me tell you a secret. The Learning Network has come out with a new product called Breeze. And Breeze is the easiest to use course creation tool on the marketplace today. You want to look smart, you need Breeze. You want to get engagement, you need Breeze. You want to have a tool that can make you look great and will work with your LMS, you need Breeze. One of the cool things about Breeze is it's all drag and drop, all templated, super easy to be effective, but it's also SCORM based. So it can work in any LMS. And here, get this, when you want to update it, you update it in Breeze and it will automatically update every instant in any LMS that you have the course. Go to learning.net and schedule a demo today. I love that motivation. And I love the way you really, because we started this whole conversation with the why, right? So you've hit why. Why? Because this is about your safety. This is about protecting yourself. This is about protecting your fellow employees. The why, this is about earning bonuses. Really, really important. So let's go back to your new learners, the ones that are going through your real estate and your lending program. These people are very motivated because they paid you a substantial amount of money to take the courses. So when you're doing the initial training, where it's sort of like the introductory training, you're selling. Then they actually take the training they paid for. I would imagine that there's a very high completion rate and excitement because they spent a lot of money. How does that change your training?
Good question, Evan. So whenever we're training, of course, like I expressed before, we're following the same principles for training. However, it's the follow-up. The follow-up is what is important. So we put the responsibility on the students that if you feel stuck or you need help while you're implementing what you learned, reach out to us. So you have to be a resource. Whenever you're in that space, you need to be an actual live resource to where people can feel comfortable reaching out to you, asking questions, not feeling like well, this is probably a silly question. Sam and Anita has been doing this for over a decade. And I'm going to reach out and I'm going to ask them about, well, how do I create an investor resume, for instance? That's
Yeah.
probably something that's silly to them. However, fostering an environment to where they look up to you as an instructor. They are looking at to you as someone who has that area of expertise, but also presenting in a way to where, and we use storytelling a lot whenever we're teaching about our creative financing, real estate property deals. We tell them the trauma, we tell them all the wins, right? And it makes us real because we're just real people. And so it makes us real to them and they can relate to the stories. They might not remember do A, B, C, and D, but you know what they will remember is they'll remember the story. And I've had people a year or 2 years later come back and say, hey, I didn't remember exactly what that strategy was, but I remember the story you told about a property deal that you did utilizing that strategy. And I think I might have something similar going on. Can you step me through that and be able to give them bite-sized pieces, even after they've been through the training, and give them bite-sized pieces to where it's like, here's 3 things at a time that I want you to do. Because there might be 20 steps, but if we remind them and we're giving them support and we're providing 3 steps at a time, then they get the feeling like they're like, I can do this. This isn't that hard, because there's nothing about anything that we teach that's rocket science. It's just a
So,
lot of little things.
so I imagine, and I'm not going to, this is not a statement about your company. This is a statement about the online training for all kinds of products that that there are people that have training for just about everything in the world. And a lot of it, by the way, is very good. Some of it is unfortunately not. There are students that start the training sometimes that maybe shouldn't have started the training. And then there are students that start the training but are arrogant and they don't feel like they got a lot. And they're going to be people that are going to maybe want their money back. And I'm going to ask the question of what do you do? And then I have a follow-up question that really pertains specifically to the people listening.
Sure. So in our space, if somebody wants their money back and they have not completed the training yet, we're just going to give them their money back, because the reality of it is, or we'll refund partially, maybe if they've started the training but they haven't completed the training, maybe we'll negotiate a partial refund. We're going to be fair about it, because the truth of the matter is not everybody is necessarily cut out to be an entrepreneur. And it is an entrepreneur space. And sometimes people get into it and they realize, I really don't have the time to commit to this right now. Maybe I want out. Or, hey, I made this decision and somebody else, maybe a spouse or a business partner or a friend or somebody personally, here, do this with me and split the cost with me, right? Those sort of situations come up. And the way we look at it is we want to be able to lead people down the path, not drag them down the path of success, right?
Yeah.
So whenever it comes to refunding people's money, of course, we look at that and we try to do our best to be able to be logical and be fair with folks.
You
As
also have to worry about people and reviews and reputation, incredibly important.
Absolutely, it's incredibly important, and we've maintained as trainers over the years an impeccable reputation. How even though Wealthrise Network is a fairly new company, Sam and Anita Winkles are not new to the business, right?
Yeah.
We're not new to the business. We have literally been in rooms and done training in front of thousands of people over the years.
So let me
So
get, okay, go ahead. And then I have the big
sure.
question.
Yeah. So reputation risk is very important to us. And above all else, it's to maintain that reputation. So whenever folks are struggling, and we do have some students that they go through the training and a few months later, they can't remember anything they learned, even though they have everything. Maybe they went through a live class and they have everything on demand. That is a mirror image of what we covered in the live class. And with those folks, they're like, I'm feeling stuck. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. We give them email support. And if their situation is too complicated, what we usually will do, and I think this goes back to the core of training, is providing the support. Find out, asking the questions to find out where is the root of the problem at, and then being able to help put together a plan of action that will help get them back on track.
Yeah. So here's the money question. Okay. Everybody that's doing corporate training that's listening to the show, the quality of your training is ultimately going to be the key to your success. If you put out a bad product and people hate it, they are going to revolt. They are not going to want to take it. They're going to say bad things to management. It's incumbent on all of us to look at the learner as a customer. So what advice, knowing what you know about corporate training, would you give people in the corporate world to ensure that their learners really like the training and feel heard if, let's say, they don't like the training?
I believe that goes back to the follow-up. It's common that after people do training in the corporate environment as well, in the environment where people's paying you for the training, to where you have them basically do a review after the training. Well, of course, the training's right there fresh on their mind. Maybe you made them laugh. Maybe you made them feel good. Most of the time, they're going to give some kind of positive feedback. Whereas once they start to implement that training in their jobs, in their day-to-day environment, maybe their feelings change a bit. So I think as trainers, whether it's in the corporate environment or whether it's somebody's paying you to train them, I think what we have to do is we have to seek consistent feedback over time and ask questions like, how have you implemented what you learned, or how has it helped you? Or how can we make it better to where the next time we teach on this topic that we're able to maybe cover some of the things that you've experienced that you wish you would have known after you finished the training that you took 6 months ago. So it's not like badgering them on an ongoing
So
basis so
what you're
much as it
really
is
saying,
just a follow-up.
what you're really saying is if you take the smile sheet at the end of the training, which can be on a line or in person, you really want to double back 3 months, 6 months later and really find out if the training worked or didn't work, maybe how to improve the training, and if people are still happy or satisfied. Because
Absolutely.
that's a better test. I love that. That's a great tip for our audience. Okay, Anita, you've done a great job, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about your company without actually making any effort to sell people on what you do and what your programs are. Some of our audience is going to have an interest in what you do. And I'm now going to ask Anita to spend a couple minutes just telling us about the products that she offers. I'm dying to understand what this lending product is because I have like no idea. So I think we can all learn something just listening to what she has to offer. And then at the end, of course, we're going to have our one tip. So let's listen to Anita and learn and listen and learn, and maybe some of you will be very interested. Anita?
So, real quick story here. The reason why my husband and I got into real estate investing because we were both in high demand corporate management jobs. We found ourselves working, 8, 10 hours a day, 45-minute to an hour commute each way in order to get to our Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 jobs. We had a dream, if you will. We had a dream that we would be able to spend more time together. And I'll spare you the backstory of why we had that why, if you will. Okay. But we had this dream, and that's when we started learning about real estate investing. And I was able to leave my corporate management job in about 19 months, and he left his about 3.5, 4 years later. And we've worked together ever since. We spent about 365 days a year together, 7 days a week. We work together. We work hard, we play hard, and we created a lifestyle for ourselves. So that's why we do what we do. But whenever in real estate investing, it's very simple business. The keys to real estate investing is finding property deals and sourcing the money. And the money piece is usually what makes it hardest for people to break into that space, because people have a mindset of lack whenever it comes to finding money to partner with the property deals, and that trips people up. So our flagship course is actually creative finance for real estate investors. So it takes kind of the piece of the old traditional bank financing and pieces it together with some more newer creative financing measures that's tried and true. So that's our flagship course of what we teach. We also teach kind of a real estate 101. We have various partners. As you can see, the network piece, we have various partners. Let's just say somebody wanted to break into doing large multi-million-dollar commercial buildings like apartments or something of that nature, warehouses. When most people cut their teeth on the 1 to 4 family stuff. And so we have people that we partner with that we can refer them to that can help take them to the next level as well. That way we can focus on the new to the intermediate investor. And then we have a network of folks that can help take them to the next level when they're ready to go to the next level.
So when I was looking at your website, you had something called hard money lending. And that's like the term, like I've never heard this before. What do you do? Take your money and put it in something and make it stiffer, and that makes it hard. I'm just joking. What is
Yeah.
hard money lending?
Well, what you learn as a real estate investor is hard money is not hard to get. If you've got a great property deal, it's easy to find the money to be able to fund the purchase of that property. So with that being said, hard money and private money, these terms are used interchangeably in a lot of senses. And essentially what it is it's a private individual, or maybe it's a small company that just focuses on doing lending that is not bank lending, and they only work with investors. So if somebody wanted to say fix and flip a property, the property's what we call tore up from the floor up, it's kind of run down, it needs some love. So what we'll do is we'll use private money or hard money lenders in order to acquire that property, and maybe also help with some of the rehab cost of that property to get the property up to its highest and best value so we can resell that for a profit. Or maybe we refinance it and we hold it for a cash flowing rental. So hard money and private money, it's just basically not anything to do with your traditional lending. It's usually somebody or it's usually a small company in your city that specializes in loaning money. A lot of people don't realize that you can be in just as secure position as the bank as a private money lender. There's probably people listening to this podcast right now that has capital that they don't even know that they could possibly access, maybe an old 401k that they can move to a self-directed retirement account where they can dictate what their money gets invested in, and where it can be also secured by real estate. And the beautiful thing about hard money and private money lending is it comes with really good returns. So after Sam and I started making money and digging ourselves out of the debt that we were in before we were real estate investors, as we got to where we were truly financially free, the money that we were making from our real estate transactions, we were looking at ways to redeploy that was more hands off. So we started doing private money, or if you will, hard money lending. And we started doing this type of lending where somebody else is going and finding the property and dealing with the contractors and the rehab of the property and all that. And all we are is we're the bank. We're holding the note. We have a lien against the property. So if they get hit by a bus, we get the property, we can turn around and sell it and be able to recover our money plus some.
So Anita, how do people who have interest in learning what you're teaching, how do they reach you? And then please share your offer.
But what my offer is if for people who don't want to deal with the property, or maybe you're super busy, you're a corporate professional, you don't want to deal with the property, however, you would like to find a way to get involved in real estate investing without being in the trenches, being a private money lender or a hard money lender is a fantastic way to get involved with that. So with the book that I'm writing, it gives you a clear and concise outline of how that type of lending works and what you need to do to be able to make sure that you're keeping yourself safe in the transaction. We always want to make sure we have a lien against the property. We need to make sure that the promissory note is properly written up. And we want to make sure that it also closes with a title attorney or a title company. So there's several different points that we walk through in order to be able to educate you on how to become a private money or a hard money lender.
And how do people reach you to get the book?
Feel free just to shoot me an email. You can send me an email over to info@wealthrisenetwork.com.
Say it one more time, a little slower.
Sure. Just shoot me an email over to info@wealthrisenetwork.com and just put free book on the subject line, and we'll send you a digital copy.
Sounds fantastic. Don't forget to mention Training Unleashed. Anita, we love your one tip. We've all been waiting. What is your one tip? If you have one tip to share with the audience, what would that one tip be?
I would say my one tip for anybody, whether you're in the corporate world or if you're an independent trainer like myself, is in today's time and age, technology is moving very quickly. You need to stay up with the times and stay up with technology and how you can best deliver and provide the most robust training services to your audience.
That is an excellent tip. Anita, thank you very much. On behalf of the Learning Network, I want to thank the audience for being here. I also want to thank our sponsors, C-Suite Radio and C-Suite TV. And check us out on YouTube now, Training Unleashed Network on YouTube. Everyone have a fantastic day.